It's the Stallions and the Roughnecks on the USFL side. We're going to have Birmingham, again, a large favorite, this time on the road by 7.5. Total is at 42.5. Forecast for H-Town looking like high 70s, some strong winds. Could have a pop-up storm just like Arlington, but much less of a chance of rain than that game in Arlington. All right, let's start with the quarterback carousel here in Birmingham. Who's it going to be this week, Skip? Who's it going to be? I think Matt Corral just bullied his way through that game. He had a bad start with some turnovers, and we're going to look at some of this. Here's the bad start that Matt Corral might have had. But he took a bunch of massive hits. He got hurt in this game. He stayed in the game and took more of a beating. And we could actually see here on the video Matt Corral and some of the hits that he was able to take. After going 0-4 in the red zone, should Birmingham have even won that game? I'm not taking credit away from them, but 0-4 in the red zone is not going to get you another win. I mean, that is the way that they're able to win games has been different each week. I just don't think that's going to be one of them. Are we taking turns here? Is this going to be Adrian Martinez by default? I guess we're going to see, but whoever it is, they're going to run the ball. And I did want to kind of mix in some run pass stats here for the Birmingham Stallions. Birmingham runs it on 53% of their offensive snaps. That's more than anybody in the UFL. The next closest is Michigan with 45%, and the league average is 40%. So Birmingham's run heavy. Even if they are missing CJ Marable, who hasn't practiced, I'm not too concerned this offense will really change with the absence of Marable. I mean, he's only given them 2.8 yards a carry now, and, it might be a little refreshing for Stallions fans to see Ricky Person get that full workload. Houston's defense looking great against the run on paper so far, but I mean, they are second in the league in run defense. They're best in yards per carry allowed. Will that cause trouble for Birmingham? Houston was not good against a mobile quarterback, which I think is important when you're going against either Corral or Martinez. In week 3 against E.J. Perry, they give up 9 carries for 60 yards and 2 scores. So I don't have much faith in that area for them to be able to stop a running quarterback. But I'd like to think that the Houston defense that we saw against Arlington is going to show up again in front of that home crowd. I mean, you go back, the Houston Gamblers, who are now the Roughnecks, they were the last team to beat Birmingham before this 11-game run started. So for the Stallions offense, I see a very similar performance in week 2 against Michigan. I think that's how this game is going to sort of play out. Martinez started that game. They played with their food in the red zone the same way that they did last week, the same way that they've kind of done all year. But they did control the line of scrimmage. They controlled the time of possession. They gutted out 20 points and got a win in week 2. And I think they do the same. It's probably going to be like 23 tops here. But Birmingham's not scoring 30 like they did against Memphis. They need to get Jay Sternberger the ball more. The dude is a yards after catch machine. I mean, he's averaging almost 20 yards per catch as a tight end. Why is that guy not have the ball in his hands more often? They have got to find ways to get him the ball. He is always open. I think the Birmingham offensive line definitely took a step back last week, while Houston's D-line is getting better. So, and I was also impressed with Houston's secondary. You're seeing some of the footage here. A guy like Keandre Thomas coming back into the lineup could really be a number 1 corner for you. So I am going to give the edge to Birmingham's offense slightly here. regardless of what quarterback it is. Again, by the time you watch this, or there might be some new information out, I would guess Martinez, but again, it doesn't really matter. They both play similar styles against a Houston defense that's really going to be able to game plan against either of those guys. Flipping sides of the Houston offense now against the Stallions D. This is where we're going to find our edge in this game. Houston's weakness all season has been up front. It's no secret there. But Reed Sinnett has actually done a pretty good job in that RPO game, getting the ball out fast enough and not taking a ton of sacks. They throw a lot of quick slants. Kind of reminds me of DC's offense a little bit, honestly. And I came into the year knowing little to nothing about this receiving core, but they've introduced themselves a little bit here. They're definitely not the worst receiving core in the league. I actually think this receiver room might be the second best in the USFL conference from a depth perspective. But the pass game just isn't going to be the focus for Eric Price's Roughneck offense. C.J. Johnson's going to lean on Mark Thompson here. And he's already saying in press conferences he's looking for 20 to 25 touches for Thompson. Limited usage last week, only saw 9 carries, but seemed to really spark that offense when he was in the game. He looked a little uncomfortable at first, but he shook off the pain as the game went on. You could tell he's still a little hobbled. And I know this is a completely overhauled Birmingham defense from the last 2 USFL seasons, but Thompson looked really good against them last year. Actually ran for I think 80 yards and 3 touchdowns. And like we said, the Gamblers were the last team to beat the Stallions before that win streak. So Thompson is capable. Realistically, I don't think you can beat Birmingham with a pocket passer like Reed Sinnett. Birmingham's kryptonite all year is going to be mobile guys who can get around like a Jordan Tamu, who they struggled against last week. They didn't manage a single sack against DC. That will probably change. I look for them to get back to that way they win games, which is to dominate the line of scrimmage in the trenches. Even without Scooby Wright, who I wanted to touch on quick. Scooby Wright suffered a season-ending neck injury. He goes to the IR, ending his season and possibly his career. Just some devastating news. Scooby Wright is a back-to-back spring football champion with the USFL Stallions, and a fan favorite would really be an understatement at this point. It comes to the bond that he's built with that Birmingham community, and as we know, was one of the most electric defensive players to watch during his time at Arizona in college football, where he was being talked about for the Heisman Trophy. So best wishes to the Shark Dog and wherever his next chapter in life is going to take him. If he wants to play again, I hope he's able to. If not, we know we'll see him again in some form in the football universe. I expect an inspired effort from his teammates playing for him. That he's the heartbeat and the lifeblood of that locker room, the captain of that defense, and they are going to play hard and fast for Scooby Wright. I mean, there's guys like DeMarquise Gates and JoJo Tillery that have been with Scooby Wright with those 2 championship runs, and I know I'm missing a few guys as well. There's a couple of guys who have been part of John Chavis's unit for a while now. So I think big advantage to the Birmingham defense here. I think the Roughnecks are obviously going to try to pound it early, but eventually they're going to have to air it out with Reed Sinnett because they're going to be trailing in this ball game, and that's when things could get ugly. Ponies are the pick for me, Zook, to start 5-0. I'd put this somewhere around a 22-15 type of ball game. I think the smallest of leans on the Houston cover. I do like the home underdog in this situation. I'm not going to bet it. I do love this under. I think these are 2 really good defenses. And Zook, I got to say, you back Houston, they lose, right?
Yep.
You fade Houston, they beat you.
Yep.
And you hate this team like I hate the Renegades.
I don't necessarily hate them.
That's because of Reed Sinnett. Yeah, you see, you're an Eagles guy.
That's
but
right.
That has to be a pain in the ass for you.
It is a little bit. And again, it's betting this year is a little challenging. We're getting there. I'm not worried about it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure. This is a pick for me, just like I'm not going to pick Arlington at all until they win a game. I'm not going to go against Birmingham until they lose a game.